So let's take a live look as of this date, and maybe that's the first thing I should describe. Okay. The current date is here. It's automatically coded in there today. So you always know, as of what date. Okay. I try to update this the second I've changed my opinion on something. I literally go through and, and update it here. So this list will vary in size. It's 131 names as we're recording this. I'd love for it to be fewer. There's a lot of stuff I just added here. I mean, I'm really in late February here, 2025. I went through and I just did a clean sweep of everything. That is, I looked at everything I owned. I looked at everything I possibly would own. I looked at everything I was following, and I said, how much of this stuff do I still really need to follow? And the question is, well, what am I following it for? So let's walk through the many ways that you can use this and different parts of it. So all the tickers are here. Some of these are stocks, some of them are ETFs. Now, I'm not sure if you have the sorting ability in within Seeking Alpha. You may not. It may just be wherever I've left it. Okay. But if enough people are interested in having access to the file directly, I think some people do already, maybe from the old version of the service, but I don't see any reason we can't give you view-only access. All I would ask is if you put it out of position, try to put it back where it was because it's a shared file. You won't be able to change any of the information, but you will be able to cut and paste and things like that. So, that might be helpful. Sometimes people use it, sometimes they don't. They just kind of wait to see, what I did and what I said about it. Okay, but obviously it's fully sortable here. So if we want to see how many ETFs I have, I'm following 59 of them, I guess, and about 70 stocks. That number won't be that high for too long. So this thing will always be changing. It's not really giving a whole lot away by, to the outside world by showing around this. And then I have this because, I do tend to buy calls and puts on SPY or dollar XSP, which is the mini S&P option symbol. Here's my strike prices. So you look at one line, you should be able to figure out, oh, okay, what is Rob's how? Well, he likes this. Well, actually, it's not so much I like it. It's I own it. I'm not planning on doing much with it. Now, of course, with options that can change, but it's a stable position. There's a good chance that if I did anything, it would be adjusting the position, not removing it entirely. It's small size, going back to what it says in the depth chart guide. And I own puts and calls, and here's where the calls and the puts are struck. Okay. So that's one example of what you'd see in here. Here is a very simple example. I own a large position in a T-bill ETF, and I will as long as rates stay high. It's a long position. It's large in size. Oh, what does large mean? It means that he's got 10 to 15% of his YARP portfolio in it. Okay, that's how this works. I can look at something like this, which I wrote about in Seeking Alpha recently. This goes in tier 0, which, by the way, that's tier 0. Okay. It's not in the YARP portfolio, but it's kind of on the list because I might own it somewhere else. This will prevent any confusion. If you say, hey, Rob put a buy rating on AFK. Rob put a buy rating on, this is Africa, this is Denmark, okay? Only for the trading accounts. And you can see there's a small list right now, but there will be a growing list of things that say, yeah, you know what? I would probably only buy that in my trading account. There's even a couple of stocks. I mean, here's one current example. I said, and actually, I said that Campbell might make a dog collar candidate. At least I thought it would. And I said, wait a minute. No, it doesn't. It just there's not enough upside, and I'm not convinced, but would I take a shot at owning it to pick up, I don't know, 7 to 10% in a month or two? Yeah, because that's kind of the way that stock can trade sometimes in these crazy modern markets. So let's go back, show you a few other things in here. Let's see. Okay, so Amazon. Amazon, well, what do you know about my Amazon position? Well, we know it's a stock, at least Amazon is. It's in tier two. What does tier two mean? It means it's a weak holding. So in the next couple of weeks, I could be out of this. It's a fairly large position size, but I don't own Amazon stock because this is empty. It's not part of a dog collar because I don't own the stock. I didn't sell calls. I didn't buy puts. I didn't even buy calls. But there's this other thing, hedged ETF. That's the hedged ETF. So this is a way of saying, Rob likes Amazon, is still holding it. So it's not, he liked Amazon. Okay. He may be a little concerned about Amazon. And so it's possible that this hedged ETF, this yield max ETF symbol, which is what he actually owns, that's his how, that will be maybe won't be in the portfolio too much longer. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And then you can kind of learn your own process, but perhaps pivoting off of mine. Then you have something like this, Boeing. Okay, Boeing, we know it's a stock. It's a solid holding. It's a large size, but the reason it's a large size is because I've dog collared it, and this is the range of the strike prices. Okay, now the cost of the options can affect this, so it's not like, if the stock's at whatever 180, I have upside to 210 and downside to 170. I do, but the options may have cost me a little bit. Okay. Here's an example, one that's just kind of nowhere, Conagra, right now. Okay. Here's the first of these that I've done, in which I bought the stock. Got to add the position size in here. It's a long position, and I bought a put. Why? Because I thought it was too expensive to do this. So it's a candidate for a dog collar, but not just yet. I didn't complete the collar because I didn't want to bring in a small amount of money for the call sale. And there's a rationale for that with a couple of trades that actually occurred today. So I'll tell you about that. Okay. I'm thinking about this one for a dog collar, but right now it's nowhere. It's in the 3 range. Okay. So I don't own it. What I actually own is in the green over here, and it would either be a 1 or a 2. Okay. And actually this is part of the core portfolio. So let me knock that out here because it's not in here. I've just created this today. All right, there's a dog collar. And yeah, I can tell I'm gonna have to redo some of this because let's see. No, okay, yeah, Disney was a full collar. There we go. Okay, there is a hedged ETF, but I don't own it. If I owned it, it would be here. How many hedge? So let's think of it another way. Okay, right now, I don't like what that did. Okay, how many long positions do I have? I have all of these, everything that's in this column. Those are my long positions. Now, some of them have dog collars attached or other options. How many positions do I own just long, no options involved, no hedged ETF from YieldMax or anybody else? Well, there's one. the T-bill ETF. And there's that one, the floating rate ETF. And I think I'm missing a TLTW in here, right? Because I'm sorry. Nope. I own TLT, but I own it through TLTW, not through a long position. Because I want people to understand that the reason I did this, and if it's too confusing, tell me. But the reason I did this is because there's a lot of different types of how going on in here. And to me, when I look at, as an example, when I look at TLT, that chart says to me, oh, got a chance to go up, but I'm trying to get as much income as I possibly can. This is a good sign. Maybe it goes up to here, maybe it goes up higher, but I don't want this when I can own TLTW. And granted, this is reduced for the dividends, but here, I'll pull it up. Let's see, I'll pull it up over here. TLTW. Bring it in here, right from Seeking Alpha. Okay. Well, I can yield, 4% um, on TLT, or I can try to go for 15% yield, paid monthly, which is nice. And why would I do this? Well, because going back to the depth chart, okay, I'm always following TLT. If I just think it's going to rip straight up and I want all the price appreciation, then I would buy it long. If I thought that it was dangerous going down, I might just buy a put. I might buy it and collar it. But right now, there's a lot of income to be had, and I think the price may at least drift up. So why not get that 15% annualized rate of income, paid monthly, and get some of the upside as well, because that's what TLTW does. It buys TLT and it writes covered call options. So this is a covered call ETF. Now, if I get to the point where I decide that, I still like to get that income, but I'm a little more concerned this thing's going to fall, I can just buy an out of the money put option, pair it with this, just like I did with the yield max ETFs. And now I've got the downside, or at least some of it covered. I've got my crash protection, but I'm also making 15% yield, while that's going on. So yeah, it's complex. This is, investing 301 or 401. But the reason I did this and restructured it this way is because I want to make it so that every subscriber, every potential subscriber can say, oh, okay, as long as I know what Rob's view is on something, because so often I get the question, do you like Apple? I like Apple to the extent that I can collar it. Okay. Uh, and I'm willing to take a large position. If all I can do is buy it and you tell me my mandate is all I can do is buy and sell, well, that won't be large, it'll be small, if it'll be anything at all. So the options give me so much flexibility because, if something like Apple does fly higher, I don't see that as being a slam dunk, but if it does, um, I want most of that upside, okay? And I'd like to have it on as big a position as possible. But if I don't have crash protection on stocks these days, then I'll at most buy a tiny amount of Apple. The other thing that you might see me start to do a little bit more of is to say, and this, I'll go to another example. Well, the last example was this one, okay? IAU. Well, I thought gold looked pretty good. And back when it was sitting, can't even remember, around here, 50, 51, something like that. I said, okay, if it goes to 55, I'd be very happy. It's above 55 now. And uh, I have call options that allow me to sell it at 55, but I've still got 2 months left. So this thing is, flying high. It's probably doubled in value. But I put so little money at risk. So more and more, and especially to the extent that there's income to be had and, rates are high enough. I like the idea of saying, except for where I want the dividend, why put all that money at risk? Why don't I just figure out how much I'm willing to lose in this position, small amount of money, uh, a fraction of what I would normally risk. And if I'm right, I do probably almost as well as I did, buying IAU and putting up all that money. Or if I'm completely wrong about it, then I can't lose more than what I put up. And to me, this is the way to attack modern markets. I don't know if we'll ever go back to the other way. And let's see, any other examples in here? Okay, again, don't like the look of Microsoft. The MSFO is out there, but I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it long. There's no options. I'm uninvolved. There's a long list of things I'm looking at like this. Okay, I did do a couple of strategies here, which I will go over shortly. And let's see. Yeah, I have to say there aren't a whole lot of things that I'm loving, but that list is growing. It's starting to become more of a market where I can find things to buy. However, you can tell just from looking at this, okay? If we wanted to see, I mean, everywhere where you see three X's here, that's a collar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we're up to 10 collars. Uh, and um, and there are these couple other positions which are just put buys, um, and we've got the one position CCI that doesn't have a call sale. So again, this is designed to be as flexible as anybody wants it. The question I would expect somebody to ask at this point is, well, what if I don't want to mess with the options? Great. Um, then my suggestion, if I were doing a no option version of this portfolio, uh, the larges would become mediums or more likely smalls. That's it. Smaller position. Because I always want to, by having large positions, I can make more, but I can also lose more unless I collar it. So hopefully that gives you a bit more color on this. I will say I've added a lot of stocks to the list because there's a lot of things that look interesting now, but a lot of what I'm doing these days is I'm trying to fish around for things that might turn into good buys. And they'll be on the list for a little while, and if they don't pan out, then that's it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop record for now and take your questions.